Hello, everyone. Vincent Briatore here. I wanted to give a quick update for everyone concerning the U.S.'s stimulus package. So, as you guys know, this is pretty important. The Senate and the House have been negotiating a stimulus package so that every American can get a check in the mail. So this is going to happen probably by the end of the day. By tomorrow, we'll know something for certain. And I decided that I wanted to cover exactly all the steps required for everyone to sign up and make sure they receive this check. Now, as you guys may or may not have heard, there's a few different negotiations in place. One proposal from the Democrats, actually a few from the Democrats, one from the Republicans. I want to discuss a little bit of the similarities and what you can expect to receive in the next few days when you sign up, and really what the two different packages offer. Because there's a lot of misinformation in the media. And now would be a really good time to receive this. So overall, the stimulus package, for one, gives money to employers so that they can guarantee PTO. Well, not necessarily PTO, but paid time, sick leave due to coronavirus. So a lot of hourly employees, if you don't have PTO or something, a lot of employers are just not laying off people, but sending you home without pay. So this guarantees that employers have the funds necessary to keep people on payroll for as long as it may take for us to overcome this quarantine epidemic, whatever you want to call it, pandemic, insomma. And the second one is that you send actual checks out. So I think it's like $1,200 per individual, a little more for families, with an additional $500 per child. Now, the original Republican proposal that Trump pushed was, a cutoff, I think, $75,000 yearly income per individual, $150,000 per person. So this sounds like a good proposal. I was all for it. As you guys know, I'm a little bit more conservative leaning. However, the issue with this proposal is that it is based and dispersed through the same method of taxes. So if you haven't filed taxes yet for 2019, it would be calculated on your 2018 taxes, right? Now, if you did not file taxes for 2019 or 2018, you would not be receiving a check. So that's the big issue. So that cuts out a lot of people that are in really big need. So as you guys know, unless you're self-employed, if you have an income below $2,500 a year, you don't have to file. A lot of people who receive SSI benefits, students that may be living off student loans or other situations, these people are not filing taxes. So how are they going to receive the money? See, so this cuts out a huge amount of people. So if you haven't filed taxes within the past 2 years, you wouldn't be getting a check. The other proposal that Democrats are pushing, that I know they attached a lot of other things that didn't necessarily seem like they were important, like for solar power, different stuff. But that proposal is one that is trying to be pushed through the unemployment system. So the unemployment system would be an emergency system that even if you haven't worked, you would be able to sign up for unemployment and claim some sort of benefits through that system, right? Regardless if you filed taxes this year, last year, or we haven't filed for 10 years. So that's a little bit incorporates more individuals. So even the person that's homeless on the street and is pretty much completely off the radar when it comes to the government and IRS and all that kind of stuff, can still file and receive some money. And then there's the third proposal is one where direct payments go through neither one of those systems. So you kind of sign up through your social and you get the $1,200 check. Personally, I do like the more sustainable idea of a weekly unemployment check. My concern is I'm not sure that the unemployment system can handle that. And that's a big leap of faith to put all of that responsibility on a system that historically has not done terribly well. Already we have reports of, usually 50,000 people file for unemployment, now 500,000 file for unemployment. So it's a ton of people. And the system may be abused as well. You put these last restrictions on there. God only knows what could happen. But I know what you're thinking. You're like, well, better for it to be abused in some sort of capacity than no one get money in the first place. So this is really what we need to watch for today and tomorrow is which one of these proposals goes through, because that can have a huge effect on not only the amount, but whom in summa gets this money at the end of the day. So although, most people are just like, well, let's just get something passed and let's get something in our hand, you can see that depending on what is passed, a lot of people may not get money. And the idea, I get it. The people that, I think the Republican proposal is mainly based on and I hate to say it because you guys know, I'm pro-business. all the way. But I think that it's kind of geared towards the electorate that votes conservative and that pays taxes. When you're talking about using the whole taxation system to determine who and who does not get a check, obviously it's going to appeal to the user base that actually pays taxes, or at least files in summa. You know what I mean? So that, I don't know. I do believe that a system in which everyone gets a check would be better, because there are people, there are students, there's people on SSI. Those people are the ones that are in the most need, and they need to be able to access this money. And in summa, we're talking checks right here, And I think that this will also assist in a big way the cryptocurrency market. As you guys know, I have a lot more faith at this point in the cryptocurrency market than I do in the regular market, because even companies like 3M and others that have been assisting in making masks and other things, I mean, those type of profits and revenue projections, they're very unsteady, and we don't know how long this recession will take. And I think that if the recession is prolonged, more people are going to go into cryptocurrency. There's always this discussion of people that don't necessarily understand the concept of inflation, and people just grip to fear. And the first thing they think is like, oh, crypto is a good way, a hedge against the dollar, against inflation, yada, yada. So it really doesn't matter what's accurate and what's not. It's about what people will do. And institutional investors are going to follow retail investors in whatever presumption they make. So if all these checks come out and a large portion of individuals starts investing in cryptocurrency, then institutional investors will also buy beforehand to push the price even higher, so you can capitalize on those retail investors. This is kind of how it works. It's either retail investors chasing institutional investors, or getting tongue-tied, or institutional investors trying to predict what retail investors do. I could be though. That's the same thing with stock market. So it's kind of an aspect of how things are going. Do I advocate investing the money? I mean, I think a portion of these checks could be invested if you can afford to, because, fortunes are made during times of unrest and uncertainty. Just like Warren Buffett said, be greedy when, your neighbor's fearful, or whomever, and be fearful when, everybody's greedy. That's the concept. So where there is fear, there's opportunity, and that's kind of how I see it. And I think that, in summa, that this opportunity is going to be more evident within the cryptocurrency market. It's a smaller market. It is a more, in summa, it has a more specific user base. And this user base tends to be a little bit more weary of government and traditional banking institutions and investments. I mean, I see that by and large. A lot of people go to crypto that already have this sort of, anti-government kind of mindset. I'm not saying everybody. Some people are just out to make money, or some people like the technology in of itself and not necessarily have some sort of pseudo-anarchist attitude, but it is what it is. So these are all things that you have to consider. And I see it more and more. I see the average person on the street, a lot of them believe that there's more to this whole situation than meets the eye, and they have like little conspiracy theories, a lot larger percentage than I would have expected, to be quite honest. But I don't judge. It is what it is. I don't try to form my own opinion too much on things. I try to just keep my ear to the ground and predict where the masses are going, where the money is flowing, and just try to get there a little bit sooner than they do and get out before everybody else gets out. So there's something to think about. Anyway, I'd love to hear your opinions on the stimulus. Obviously, this concerns specifically the United States, although other countries are following suit. But be it that as it may, I live in the United States, and I'm going to try to follow this through in the coming days so that I can actually guide you through the process of actually claiming your money and maximizing how much you can get based on, your dependents or whatever. If it is complex, hopefully it's not too complex. And we'll go from there. So thank you guys for tuning in. I hope everyone is doing well. I'm holding up all right, I guess. This is my life. I usually rarely leave the house, so it's not a big difference with me, the whole quarantine. Thank you guys for tuning in. As always, buy red and sell green.